Right, it says recording, so here we go on another Zoom Saturday Night Live with our special guest, Jeanette. How are
Hey
you
everyone,
doing?
how's it going?
It's going. Then we want to know how it's going for you.
It's going very, very well. It's been an interesting journey, and I'm very grateful for what I have learned so far.
Okay, maybe you want to share a little bit of your background, where you came from, diet, and so on and so forth, and how you found MFS.
Sure, I'd love to. Well, where I came from was basically since a child very congested lymphatically. Ever since I was a baby, about 14 months old, I was addicted at that time. I've had addiction issues pretty much my whole life. I'm 36 now, and I was addicted to start with apple juice. As a baby in the bottle, I was like, my mom oh yeah, she wants her apple juice, and she thought she was doing the right thing, and I ended up getting a cavity in my front teeth as like a baby or like a young child. Actually, it was some years later, but I know I was addicted to apple juice as a baby.
You mean on your baby teeth?
They were my baby teeth because I had all four removed. So the four front, I have pictures of me with these like no teeth. I had a really like raspy voice and very like nasalized as a child. So then I started getting like chronic infections and like the tonsils and the adenoids and really like a lot of sinusitis and like chronic ear infections. Was given lots of antibiotics, and eventually they removed my adenoids and tonsils.
Of course.
Do that back then, right? Actually, now I think doctors even know like not to do that now.
Really?
Some of them, yeah, because my cousin had the same issue with her daughter, and she said that her doctor was like, well, we used to just remove them. Now we're not doing that as much anymore. So, but the option was still given to her. The doctor at least was pretty normal about it, I was addicted to nasal sprays as a youth, prescribed inhalers for like wheezing in the lungs. So it was all like upper congestion, like all the way up into my head.
Asthma or just for the congestion?
Pardon me?
You had asthma actually or just congested?
It was undiagnosed asthma. Like I know what the symptoms are. Funny enough, a little bit came up during the Master Fast, and also later in life, like before I discovered the Master Fast, I started, I got really backed up over the years. It's getting worse, right? Until you do something about it. And I kind of diagnosed myself with asthma because I felt like the wheezing and like, the symptoms of asthma. They just call it asthma. So I was with a lingering cough, ear infections, fevers, like as a child, and terrible allergies to cats, which I didn't even know about until I started quizzing my mom to prepare for this interview. I was like, Mom, what else do I need to know? And so we had cats our whole childhood, my sister and I, and we were both terribly allergic. So that was kind of interesting to find out. In grade 6, by that time, I just started losing my eyesight and I couldn't see the blackboard. So my mom was updating me about that. She got me a pair of glasses, and I remember that quite vividly. So just getting into the diet, highly processed, unnatural foods, pretty much. And microwavable dinners, Pop-Tarts, sugary cereals, like Fruit Loops were one of my favorites. Pac-Man cereal with the little Pac-Man marshmallows. I don't know if anyone remembers those.
Not those. I had Fruit Loops.
Fruit Loops would color the milk so special. And of course, milks and dairy. Being Italian, on one side, we had, Maltese on the other, so it's very similar, Mediterranean cuisine. But the dairy, the cheeses like the Parmesan Reggiano, the provolone. My dad used to take the little slicer and make the little thin slices, and was so good. So addicted to cheese pretty much all throughout my life.
Yeah, all the good stuff.
Yeah. And breads and pastas and actually on my dad's side, my nono and nonna, we say that for grandmother and grandfather, they were making homemade like ravioli and like everything, but it was just high gluten. And I remember we didn't like the tomato sauce, my sister and I growing up, so they would just like slather it with butter and like Parmesan instead.
Nice.
Yeah, so and actually on that side, my nonna, she was very like sick with diabetes, and she actually died from complications of diabetes, where she was she was just obese and like blood sugar issues, and then it went into her eye, and her eye ended up bursting from this like diabetes complication or whatever. So, and then my nonno, he was very addicted to his homemade alcohol. So it's so interesting to see like who you take after, in your family. I was lucky, I did get quite strong genes, even though we have issues just like anyone else. My body, I'm noticing, is able to heal relatively quickly. And through my iris analysis, it showed like medium to strong constitution. So I'm really, really blessed and grateful for that. And a little bit more about the diet. I remember Mr. Noodles, addicted to Mr. Noodles all throughout high school. I think there was MSG in the little packets, like the ramen noodles. Mm-hmm. And addicted to Coca-Cola. I remember going to Italy at like 12, 13 years old. And actually, I don't remember. I saw the home videos where we're just beaten back like 2 liter. Actually, I say we, but it was just me. I loved my stimulants, beaten back a 2 liter thing of Coca-Cola while we drove across Italy. And I was asking my mom, we were like, what the heck? My sister and I kind of laid into her, like, you just throw her this bottle of Coke and just let her go to town, They did the best they could, whatever makes you happy, right? Emotionally, they think, oh, well, we're doing the right thing. And my hair was really thick as a child. I remember as a teenager shaving the underneath part just because it was so heavy. So it was like kind of the style, you could shave underneath and like wear your hair up, and it looked kind of cool back then. It was like pretty trendy. And but I think about that now and like how little hair I have now. It's starting to come back as like little baby hairs, but I lost a ton of hair. And I was on birth control pills actually for like 10 years. So that was another thing. My mom thought she was doing good, she's at that age, let's just give her birth control pills. And and I didn't actually know the harm they could do to the system. And I've been off them many, many years now. So that's a little bit about my history with my health and my diet.
When did you start losing your hair?
Oh, I didn't even notice it happening, but it was like, I guess all throughout like my teens and then into like my 20s. And then by the time I was like maybe 25, I was like, what the heck? I kind of started to notice. I was really, really lucky because I've been working in the health food industry since I was a teenager. And I was always kind of looking for answers because I knew I had a lot of issues, a lot of emotional issues, especially like with the addiction. In high school, I ended up experimenting with drugs, going to raves, taking ecstasy, and just really getting into all that. It started with marijuana, and then it went like, oh, well, we've tried that. Let's try mushrooms. And, they say the gateway drugs, right? And then you're going into all this crazy hard stuff just so that you could dance the night away and have the energy, because you wouldn't want to be smoking weed and going to an all-night rave. You'd be passing out in the corner. So this was like what my life was like throughout high school, and I was getting actually like quite the little crew together where we were all just enabling each other. And just obviously I was unhappy as a person, because in order to be seeking sort of some sort of, mind expansion through taking drugs or whatever I was seeking, right? I know that I had a lot of emotional issues and I'm still dealing with that. What else can I say? Oh, so going back to what I was saying. So I worked in the health food stores as a teenager, and I remember like going to raves all night and then just like going back into the health food store and sneaking like chicken wings and pizza like under the counter. Customers would come in and be like horrified, like, you're eating that and you work at a health food store. But you know, I wasn't really into health. I just saw an opportunity. I saw a help wanted sign in the window. And I thought, oh, maybe I can learn a little something about health, right? But definitely wasn't walking the talk. And many years went by and I stayed in the industry. I tried doing a couple other things. I ended up getting into real estate and it really wasn't my thing. Way too much work, way too hard to get a clientele. And so I just kind of always had my foot in the door of the health food industry. And I was actually really blessed because I planned an event later on into my 20s. I started, you know, I got my act together. I was lucky I had a good head on my shoulders because the raving thing was just like in my teenage years. And then I actually just ended up being like the long-term relationship girl. And these men that I was like going out with for 4 years at a time, like they weren't into that. So, you know, and I didn't want to be into it either anymore. So I guess I was maturing, and then I ended up getting an opportunity to promote this doctor from Germany who was going to be coming to Toronto and teaching about his 3 steps to purification and regeneration. So I actually did such a great job that he invited me to Germany to train me as an alkaline health coach. And that's when I started learning. He was a biochemist, so he was really into the alkaline acid balance. So I went out there and I trained with him, but I was behaving like a crazy person for someone who was supposed to be like into health and everything. I was still like, you know, 2-3 beers at a time and still having my issues with excess, you know. And the doctor was like, he took us out, like he couldn't believe it. His eyes were at head, you know. Like, I invited this girl, like who even is this girl? She's not even gonna spread the word about this. She doesn't care, right? So I ended up getting really sick after that trip. I actually my jaw like totally dislocated. Ooh. I just woke up one morning and it was just, and it had to do with a root canal I had prior to that happening. Like, I got back from Germany in January 2012, and all of a sudden I was just really sinusy again and a lot of like congestion in my lungs. And then I found out there was mold in the apartment I was living in, and I started like craving breads and like beer, and I never even ate that stuff because I was trying to be healthy. I was off kind of the main, you know, the dairy and the gluten, the main things that people know about. And the jaw lock like not broke, but like came out of place. It felt like it was broken. I was freaking out. Ended up getting an MRI like right like that because I saw this specialist, and she got me in like the next week. And basically it showed like, yeah, like the disc they said it slid out, but I think it was just degenerated and they just don't know how to explain it. And the person who did the MRI also, strangely enough, informed me that he found like a black spot on my brain, which I hear can happen with ecstasy and drugs like that. So I was like pretty alarmed, but there was just nothing that they could do for me. And I started realizing like no one can help me. Like the specialist, she actually just prescribed me like Oxycontins or some crazy like opiate for the pain. And she ended up just like recording in a tape recorder, like, Jeanette has chosen not to take the Oxycontin. She's going to take curcumin. I remember I was using the turmeric, right? Anti-inflammatory, and she had to record it. That's how crazy, like, it's their job to prescribe stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I just started suffering more and more, and I was just so tired of suffering, and I was looking for answers, and I came across Dr. Robert Morse. And because I had learned a bit about the alkaline acid balance, it kind of resonated with me, and I thought, this is meant to be. Like, I I was asking for an answer. So I listened to all his videos. I went wild, and right away I applied like the fruitarian, the high raw fruitarian as much as possible.
How long ago was that?
That was in 2015. Oh, because I also had, okay, so no, 2014 or 15. I had a car accident in 2013 that gave me like crazy whiplash. So because I was already inflamed with the jaw, now it was all the connective tissue and fascia was totally inflamed, and no one could help me and no one cared. Honestly, like I think people, they think they care, but like they can never care enough. Like you're suffering and you have to live with that. You have to do something about it. So I remember my dad saying, "Oh, sorry, hon. Oh, you're suffering over there." Oh, and like, I'm kind of like, yeah, like, could you do something to help me? Can anyone do anything? And so I was just suffering. I had about 8 months of like chronic pain. And thank God I've been into yoga like the last 13 years. And I went and I started doing restorative yoga and like yin. I thought, okay, I'm so inflamed. I don't want to be causing more inflammation by doing these like crazy yogas, you know, that we're all doing, these power yoga classes. So I started to kind of really do a lot of work like that. I've been into Louise Hay and like some of those like Wayne Dyer and Don Miguel Ruiz, some of those kind of emotional healing teachers, I guess I'm going to call them, for a long time. And I've always kind of tried to work on that side of myself on and off. So I did all these things, but ultimately for 8 months, I was with an ice pack to my neck. And that's what really motivated me. And then I found Dr. Morse, and I just cold turkey changed my whole diet to just fruits. And I remember I didn't even know what fruits I liked, because working in the health food industry for so long, we were taught that fruits are too high in sugar, like eat 1 or 2. But other than that, like be careful. And so I was like, what am I going to get? I went into some weird grocery store. I was in Muskoka at the time taking a little vacation. And I went into like this, YIG, they call it, Your Independent Grocery Store or something. And they had like a few like pears and apples. So I just like grabbed everything and I just started just eating fruit. And I actually noticed like within 4 or 5 days, the inflammation went right down. And I had suffered for 8 months. So I was like, this guy is onto something. And so was that German doctor I studied with. Like they were onto something, you know. So I did about 1.5 years on Dr. Robert Morse's like detoxification program. And then I was in one of his groups with all his people, and they were talking about you, Gino. And I said, who's this Louis Gino? And my grandfather, who passed away just before I met or heard about you, his name was Louis. And he was a great man, and he loved me so much, and I loved him. I still love him so much. So I go, oh, this Louis guy, yeah, maybe this is a sign, you know. So I started delving into your work and just reviewing the Facebook page like crazy. And I think I studied it like, because I was really nervous as to what you were doing. Like I didn't know if I could do any of that. And I think it took me a long time to wrap my head around it. I probably studied your page on Facebook for like maybe 6 months or so before I jumped into it. And then I did a 9-day. I was like very kind to myself. I said, oh, I'm just going to try MasterFest for 9 days. I don't care if, you know, they want me to do 40 or 108. Let me see if I like this sort of thing. So I put myself on it for 9 days, and it was in the winter. It was last winter. And I was actually really like in a good place on it, like going out for walks, like, you know, with nature, with the trees. But, you know, it was winter, so there was no leaves or anything, but it felt like refreshing and it felt good. It felt great to give my digestive tract a little vacation. I still love the Concord grape juice. Like,
have you ever fasted before?
I don't think I fasted. You know what I did? Okay, I did a 4-day juice fast, like after the car accident. And I remember just juicing for 4 days on those cold pressed juices that are trendy. And the first 2 days of that, my neck, I couldn't even move it. Like I was like moving my head like this. Like I went to work that day, and I was working this big health food event, and I was like, you have to come over here to talk to me. Like I can't turn my head. And they were like, what's going on? Are you okay? And I was just really in a lot of pain, but I trusted that I'm on this fast, and you know, this is just my body healing. So by day 3 of the fast, the pain was like 100% better. And that's what gave me faith in fasting.
What kind of juices?
It was just those trendy, like cold pressed juices that taste really good because there's like fruit and greens in them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or like the beet with like, you know, the carrot, which I know now is too starchy. But, you know, at the time, like any break from eating, my body was like, hooray, you know. By day 4, I felt like I was 100% better. And I was like, that is so fast and so great. So I stuck with the raw diet, and the inflammation was way down. And the lymph nodes in my neck that were swollen for like over a year around that same time were all like coming back down and everything. I was on Dr. Morse's herbs and things like that while eating. And I found I had some good healing from that. And I guess I attribute it now to, I was doing a lot of dry fasting and not realizing it. I was just sleeping. Like my body was fatigued, and I was listening to it, and I was just sleeping for like 12, 13 hours and using the herbs, and then eating more minimally compared to what my body was used to. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, like I say, I went on a 9-day master fast, and I just tried it out, and I really liked it, but I made mistakes. And I think I needed to do that so that when I did my 40-day, which I just finished on summer solstice this year, it's a couple months ago now, or is it a couple months ago? June?
We're in August, so.
Yeah. Yeah. So June 21st, I finished a 40-day. But I knew I had to go hard with the enemas. I had to implement that, like, because on the 9-day, it was really bothering me that I couldn't eliminate the pudding. Like, it was like, it wanted to be eliminated, but I'm trying not to be too graphic here, but it was very disturbing for me. It's because I was lazy on the enemas. I was one of those people that always wrote into you, you know, like, do we really need to do the enemas? Like, oh, like, you know, and you're always so kind about it. But I think we need to know, like, if you don't do, like I was doing on the 40-day morning and night religious. And if you don't do that, you're going to be like, you're just withholding the eliminations. So you're going to feel crappier. So my experience on the 40-day was a really positive one. But it was pretty crazy, some of the stuff that came up. I had a really unsettled mind, even though I thought I was on kind of a good path with my mind because I had done the Vipassana, or Vipassana as they want me to pronounce it, where you go 10 days and you're in silence. And basically it helps you get rid of any psychosomatic issues that might contribute to physical pain. So that helped me a lot. They had a mantra, anicca, anicca. You have to repeat that to yourself. It means changing, changing, so that you're not stuck in your physical pain. So that it helps you kind of remove yourself. Like, you're more than just this body, and this body's going to have sensations, but they're always changing. So that helped me a lot. But when I was on the master fast, I couldn't even continue with that meditation practice. And I had been continuing with it ever since the course for about, I think it was like 45 days straight. I did at least 25 minutes of meditation morning and night. They want you to do an hour. They want you to commit to like an hour morning and night. It's so hard. And then I started on the master fast, and I did do it for about 2 weeks in, but my mind was so unsettled. And I just felt irritable during the meditation. I was like, oh, these parasites, it must be dying or something because I'm just so irritated. So I quit the meditation. And I just used my time for the enemas as kind of a little meditation, or my daily life, like just going about life. You do feel a lot more rational when you're fasting. I noticed that. I noticed that when stressors came up, I could respond a lot better to them with almost like the creativity you would get while you're in a meditation. Mm-hmm. So I looked at the whole 40 days as a meditation in a way. But there was times where I had low energy and was moody, especially in the beginning. My jaw started like really locking up and getting stiffness and pain, and there was some clicking going on that I used to get like incessantly, and it was coming back, and I just trusted, okay, like my body that's where the energy is going right now, and I should be jumping for joy. Then I was getting this lump in my throat. Like every time I swallowed, I thought, what is there? Like what's obstructing? Like what is that? I don't know if that was thyroid or parathyroid, whatever it was. That was going on for a bit. And I was almost trying to blame it on gas. Like I thought, oh, maybe I'm just gassy and something's trying to come up. But I think it was definitely one of those glands there. Some old knee pain was arising. So like I totally forgot that like this one point in my life, I thought I was like really like being healthy. I was being really active. But I was mostly just motivated like through vanity. I was like restricting calories, and I read somewhere that if you ate 1,200 calories a day, it's like really great for weight loss. So I read that in like a women's magazine when I was like in high school, before I started going to raves. So I was quite young, and I was like holding the record for like abdominal crunches. I think it was because I wasn't eating a lot, you know. But back then we thought like, oh, she has an eating disorder, you know. Yeah. Look, she's only eating 1,200 calories. She's lost all this weight. I used to wake up every morning and my body was like thinner and thinner. And I remember like my stomach, I was like, oh, like it's thinner every morning. And for me, that's a positive because I always struggled with being overweight. Even like as a little girl, they put me in everything like dance, ballet, tap, jazz, acrobats, or what do they call that? Gymnastics, sorry. Mm-hmm. And I remember like being in front of the mirror as a child and feeling like bigger than all the other kids. And like, it's because I was a little pudgy. When I look back, I would think I was super cute. I wasn't obese or anything. I held the weight well, but like we know now that society's walking around with a lot of extra weight that we think looks good. So my heart goes out to all you on Master Fast on the journey who have issues with being underweight and then being on the fast and feeling like, you know, like I can't relate at all, but my heart goes out to you because that must be a huge, huge challenge. Someone like my body type, I mean, we go on the Master Fast and we just think, oh, yay, like we're looking better, you know, because I've always had problems with being a little overweight, as I said. So I know that's a real challenge, and my heart. Big
challenge being around, you know, families in society. You've read some of the stories of the challenges people have with their thinness. You know, it's anorexic, whatever, getting police called on them, crazy stuff, you know.
So I was working out a lot at that age and restricting calories. And again, it was all for vanity reasons. And my knee started to become inflamed back then, but I totally forgot about it. And then when I'm on the Master Fast, it was like for one day, I had some knee pain in that same knee, and then it was gone. And the same thing happened with my wrists. When I first started yoga, I had really like improper form, and I was really going hard on the chaturangas, where you put a lot of pressure on your wrist. It's like a half push-up for those of you who haven't done yoga maybe before. So you're putting a lot of weight on your wrists, and they used to get really inflamed. I forgot all about that. Now it's like 13 years later, and I'm on the Master Fast, and it was my longest dry I had done. I did a 48-hour. For me, that was like a huge feat. My whole body was burning up by hour 46. I was like putting like cold water on. I took the rag idea, like, you know, or, you know, cold water on a cloth and just rub yourself down. And I was just going crazy. My heart was out of my chest, you know, probably all the amphetamines and things coming out of my system. And I said, I'm going to do 48. And all of a sudden that's when, like the next day or maybe later that night, I know it was after the 48 hours, my wrists, both of them just became very tingly. Like there was this tingling sensation, like almost a numbness. And I thought, this is strange. What is this? And it kind of reminded me of, you know, the pain I used to get in those wrists. So that came that evening and then was gone the next day. Other crazy things were happening, like my right shoulder. Sometimes I'll do something in my daily life and it'll just like pop. Well, on the Master Fast, it was doing that like more regularly. My lower back, if I come up from like a forward fold with a straight spine, there's like this click. As soon as I come to standing in my lower back, I was getting that a lot on the Master Fast, and now I haven't had it since. So I don't know, there must have been some sort of congestion there or compression in the joints there. What else was happening? I actually got my period the first few days on Master Fast, and then I didn't get it again until today. And I don't even have it really. It's just like a spotting sort of thing happening. So that's 2 months of no period. And that reminded me of the days when I was restricting calories in high school and I lost my period, and everyone was up in arms and they were all alarmed. And I went to the doctor and he said, oh, you got to take vitamin D and vitamin A. And I was just like, I'm not taking these. What are these? And I was looking at them and I thought, oh, these are fat. Oh, these are going to add to my calories. I'm not taking, because I was so on another wavelength with my vanity at that time. So it took me many years to kind of just get down to nature, come down to earth pretty much. I've always been someone who hasn't been grounded, and I'm realizing after breaking the fast now that I need to get into the green juicing more. I'm feeling like cravings for vegetables a lot, and when I don't have them and I'm on the fruit, I'm feeling like I'm like almost out of my body too much in a way. Like I'm more in touch with my spirit than I am like grounded. Mm-hmm. So I've always struggled with that, you know.
I think that takes a bit of getting used to. What was your dry fasting schedule? So you basically did 40 days on Master Fast, right?
Yes. I was doing the daily dries, and I was doing the weekly 24-hour. And then I did, in the 40 days, I did one extended dry, and it was the 48 hours.
Okay. So your dailies were how long?
Dailies were about 12. Like, I'm very easy on myself.
Okay.
I don't like to go too hard, but I do have a problem with a bit of a completionist mentality, because I have to say, I think I was actually meant to just do 30 days on the fast. I think by day 30, like I could have eased into fruit, maybe gone into the hybrid for 10 days, you know, with a fruit, and then like maybe just a fruit meal first 5 days and then go into the salads. But I went bananas when I quit my 40 days. And I think I did like 3 days of fruit. And it's all because I pushed myself, because I was like, no, I said I'd do 40. I'm going to do 40. And then I remember going out to dinner with my sister and my dad. And my sister had completed 30, and then she did a beautiful transition of 10 days on just fruit and then some salads. She did it perfect. And she honestly, like, that was like the longest she's ever done a fast. I think she did a 10-day, what's that Hollywood diet one with the cayenne and the maple syrup and lemon?
The Master Cleanse.
Right. So she's done that before, but I introduced her to the Master Fast, and she did 30 days while I was doing the 40. She started before me. Anyways, we were at this dinner. She was already done her 30 days. And my dad goes, wow, 40 days. And he's not someone to ever give any credit. And it came across as almost like bizarre to me, because it's like, he was the type of dad where like, if I got a B and I was proud of it in school, he'd be like, why didn't you get an A? You know, like one of those old school, like thinks he's going to motivate like that way. Right. He did it out of love, but, you know, I'll save my opinion on that till another time. But we're at dinner, and now all of a sudden he's like, what a big accomplishment. Let's cheers to Jeanette. Because I'm still on the juice at that time, and they're all eating, and I'm brought my juice. Thanks to Rana's advice, I was doing my colonics with Rana. And I go, Father's Day's coming. We're going to go out to dinner. But they're saying, wait till my fast is done. Let them go to dinner, and then I'll go after I'm done. And Rana goes, why are you going to miss out on the fun? And thank you, Rana. You helped me so much. I went and I brought my juice, and I was like, yeah, I'm not missing out on the fun. What the hey? So I brought the juice, and it was an Italian restaurant, and they were so kind there. They know our family, and they poured it into wine glasses for me. And I was having the Concord grape with lemon, like in a wine glass. And my sister was eating a very light dish of like vegetables that the chef made nice for her. Mucusless as much as possible, but I bet there was a little fat in there, right? They used some butter or something. And yeah, my dad's like giving me all this praise, like, oh, what an accomplishment, 40 days. And I'm thinking like, hey, my sister just did the same thing. She's not getting any praise about it. And I didn't even need that. Like, I was just like, hey, like maybe I needed that when I was young or something. But I'm at the point in my life where like, I'm happy for what I do. I don't need that external, you know. So it was kind of strange of me. I finally realized it was strange that I pushed myself to do 40 days, because who am I trying to impress? You know what I mean? That's why I think I've learned to be kind to myself to a certain extent. But yeah, the 40 days, it was a bit much for me. I think 30 would have been better. But next time, who knows, right? But it was just this time for me. I really failed at breaking the fast. I did 3 days of like fruit and vegetables, like immediately breaking the fast on some veggies. But I tried to do cucumber and like more of the fruit veggies, like the zucchini and the red bell pepper. You know, and I didn't feel good right away, but then I just started wanting more, and I feel like I awoke in a sleeping giant, you know, and I just like that wanted to eat. And then I was writing into the group, and you guys were saying, well, maybe try a reset, you know, like do a dry day and then do a juice day. And that helped tremendously. And that kind of got me back on like my grapes. The red seedless grapes have been amazing. The mangoes, I like those. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but Altufo, or I don't know. The yellow mangoes, they're really sweet.
Oh, Altufo, yes, yeah.
They're so good. So I started eating a bit more normal after the reset. And then I kind of, you know, there's a birthday party, and then you kind of go a little wild again. And then you start like just wanting to eat all those foods again, because now you've had a taste for them. And I'm pretty good. Like, I think if people saw what I was eating, they'd be like, hey, you're being way too hard on yourself. But it's definitely hasn't been mucusless, because I've had, you know, probably too many nuts and seeds. And I can't eat the way I used to. You're right, Gina. You can't eat the way you used to. So after these fasts, it's like, you're gonna learn the hard way. You know, I was like, oh my God, I felt like I was pregnant or something, because I had just eaten all the wrong foods, and I had to get like a hot water bottle with like castor oil. And like, I just remember eating, like overeating, like eating to the point where I don't even know why I was eating anymore. And I guess trying to fill some void that's still there. And I'm there with this hot water bottle. I literally didn't move for 2 hours after eating that. I just stayed in the exact same position, like with the hot water bottle. I just was suffering. So now I've been very conscious. I'm trying to keep up the weekly 24-hour. I think I missed this week, though. I'm going to do one, though, soon. But I like the weekly 24-hour, and then a weekly juice day. So I like eating just 5 days a week now. I feel like that's a good lifestyle. But after I do those 2 days, then I start to feel deprived. So then I start making bad decisions. So I'm trying to kind of figure out what's going on there. It's definitely an emotional problem for sure.
Well, yeah, it's all the problems come from eating, not from fasting. Everybody, they're eating and eating, and they're getting all these different ailments and so on and so forth, and they're wondering why. They know why. They know they're eating way too much, and most of the time the wrong stuff. So we need that balance. But going back to 7 days a week eating is crazy. It's ludicrous. 1-2 meals a day, maximum. 5 days, 6 days a week, maximum is all it should be. But now that you're back into the food, have you considered doing a long dry fast?
I haven't considered it because I'm feeling so deprived of food. It's so strange. It's like I just want to be eating all the time. It's a real problem I have going on. That's why I asked you on the page if it's okay to drink juice while you're eating, because I feel like having the juice, I know you said maybe 1 to 2 cups is okay, but I feel like having that makes me feel less crazy, and I could fast all day, do a hybrid, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe if I start doing the hybrid more successfully, because lately in the mornings now I'm like, oh, but I have those red grapes or I have those yellow mangoes. I just want to eat those. And then I've been, I went a little off the deep end. I was at the health food store and there was a big event and they had some sale on these unsprayed espresso beans. I've been off coffee for years because I know it's just so inflammatory and so acidic. But now I'm sort of looking at the acids differently because of you. So I'm like, oh, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it's just if I cheated on some cacao, it's the same spike to my adrenal glands, right? So I got these espresso beans and then I had coconut milk and I made this coconut milk creamer. It was just so heavenly. And I have a little French press. I don't even have a coffee maker, but I got it just in case I entertain and there's one guest who wants 1 cup of coffee. I could make it for them. So, and I had a coffee grinder, so I just ground up these beans fresh and I pressed it down, and then I was it was this whole experience, and I missed it so much. Just being Italian, I used to always have my espresso, and anyway, so it's the whole emotional attachment to foods that I have to get over and get through. But it was really definitely fun to enjoy myself for a little bit,
Yeah, most of us have emotional attachments to food. I don't think there's anybody who doesn't.
And because honestly, I feel bad sitting here saying this because I have a strong constitution. I had that coffee and I'm okay, and because I got so much out on the master fast, but my heart goes out to the people here who perhaps, if they'd have that coffee, they'd just be totally inflamed, because I used to be like that. So that's why I gave it up in the first place, is every time I had the coffee, the pain would come back, or, the whiplash would be enhanced. But I noticed that it's the same with cacao. Like you say, it's crazy, on the adrenal glands, just spikes. It's immediately I'm high on something is when I have coffee or cacao,
It's it's an assault to the adrenals, it seems to be.
Oh yeah.
I destroyed my adrenal glands with cacao, and I didn't go nuts on it, but it doesn't take long. After it was between 1 and 2 years eating a little bit of cacao every day, raw cacao, superfood.
Yeah.
It did a number on me, boy. Big time.
Yeah, makes sense. Just feel how you feel after you have it. You're stimulated for sure. And the salt has been an issue too since coming off the fast. I made the celery salt and I thought I was being really good, just dehydrated celery instead of salt. But then I started getting a taste for the salty veggies, like the seaweeds, making my little nori rolls with kelp noodles, and of course no grains. I use kelp noodles, and I make this I'm one of those, as Petra would say, those food lifestylists, I'm there making these special creations, and I did coconut aminos to dip it in, but you put a splash of tamari. You got to put a little splash, and then you get the taste, and you're going, oh my God, I need something like that again. And now I need it again the next day. And it seems like it's just like once you put it in your system, you just want more and more. So right now I'm just kind of going with it a little bit, but I think I'm being very mindful. And the biggest thing I've noticed is I can't eat nearly as much as I think I can eat. Mm-hmm. My eyes are definitely way bigger than my stomach, as they used to say.
For sure. How much weight did you lose? Did you lose any?
Yeah, in like the first 2 weeks, I was down like 4 pounds. And then toward the end, so after the 40 days, I lost in total 10 pounds.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Yeah. I hear that after the 40 days that you could start losing more and more, which is why I expressed concern, like for those who, have issues with their weight, like being underweight, because that could be really scary and challenging for sure. But I can't imagine what they go through.
Yeah, it's challenging because of perception of others, what the belief system put on us. But once you understand and you have that faith and the trust, you just go through it because this is the way you resolve these issues. That's why a lot of people are malabsorbed. They can't absorb anything. They need to clean out. There's the 2 types of fat. There's the fat and the fat skinny. Mm-hmm. Where, one holds on to everything and the other one can't hold on to anything and can't absorb anything. But they're both similar in situation where they're not absorbing any nutrients, so-called nutrients. They're just not able to absorb anything. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, we need to solve these issues through fast. So the GI tract gets cleaned out and the fields can intertwine and build your matter.
Yeah, for the dry fast also, I would say, for the weight loss, it's the dry fast as well. If you the longer the dry fast, the more weight you lose. So if you're doing
up to a point, yeah,
go to 2 days a week, 3 days a month, and stuff like that, you start losing more and more, much faster.
The dries, you lose the liquid very quick. That comes back very quick. Once you get used to doing dries every week, 5-10 pounds back and forth is not an issue. Comes back very quick.
It makes sense that you would lose the weight when you're dry. I had a friend in high school who was a model, but she was always slightly a little bit heavier than a model should be, and she was a little shorter. So, but she beat all the odds. Like I don't know, she was doing runway and stuff, being a shorter lady and everything, but she was doing these dry fasts in high school. And I was freaking out. I was like, hold on, wait, you just didn't eat? I'm like, how did you lose weight? Like, you look so good. Oh, yeah, I just didn't eat for 3 days. And I go, Marie, what the hell? You can't not eat, that's what we think, right? So here she is doing something actually good for her body. We're all there beating back the Coca-Cola and eating all this food, and we're thinking she's the one with the problem, But it was a little bit because it was for vanity. But
did you see that post? Somebody posted a video. Was it you, Robert, about the rats, the longest living rat, 47 months, which they did a control study with the experimental? Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, somebody posted. But anyway, yeah, the rat that lived 47 months was water restricted. And the other rats died, I don't know, what's the average lifespan of a rat, 1 or 2 years? This one lasted 47 months. And you can see the ones that were drinking water were much bigger, all inflamed, where the one that was water restricted was nice and thin. That's the only thing they did different, water restriction.
Interesting. I actually was able to give up water since the first 9 day I did last winter. I've been off water. Of course, aside from the herbal teas, which we use water for. But when I went a little bit off the deep end recently, it was interesting to note that I felt the need to have a lot of water because I had eaten, I went for a birthday party and we had just 2 appetizers. We went out for dinner at a restaurant, some endive with hummus. It wasn't a lot of food. It was a little bit of food, but there was salt for sure on the endive. And then the hummus being heavy, the protein and the fat. And then we had some other thing. What else? She ordered fries. So I was like, all right, I'll have a few fries, some Chipotle mayo and stuff. And then I surprised her with it was her birthday. So I surprised her. I went over and I said, look, can you bring a piece of cake for her with a candle, So they bring the chocolate cake, but it's this huge, it's 2 big pieces of chocolate cake. With me in mind, basically, the server was probably like, oh yeah, they're each gonna want one, right? I would have just been happy if she had her own little cupcake or something. So now it's this huge thing and we're we have this weird mentality. She's also Maltese. I don't know, something about these European mentality of not wanting to waste food. Or maybe it's North American too. We know that there's people starving in the world and we're here being, oh, well, we won't eat this and we won't eat that. And, you kind of have to wrap your head around that too, right? But so we're there. We both eat a big chunk of this chocolate cake. And then after that, I swear to you, I felt like the meal we did pretty good. I had a few fries that, they were really salty, but I enjoyed them. And then we had the endive and I thought, oh, that's great. We didn't need a meal. We shared a beer. So I was cheating a little bit there with the alcohol. But then the cake was after I ate that, it was okay, now I just want to order even, I just felt like I could eat and eat and eat after just having that cake for some reason. Or maybe it was the whole meal. But that night I came home and I was just I went to bed and I felt like I was totally hungover. And I woke up in the middle of the night and it was like I was out getting wasted or something all night. They used to do that. I came down to my water cooler and I was just chugging the water like crazy. I felt so awful. And then the whole next day I was hungover. And that reminds me too of the 9-day master fast I did where I totally didn't break it properly. And I think within 2 days after, a crazy person, I had yam tempura. Just like a mental person. I just anyone can fast. It takes a wise person to break a fast wisely, I guess, right? So I'm there eating this yam tempura, and that literally made me hungover for 2 weeks. Because I had done the 9 days, and then I just ate that, and I felt hungover for 2 weeks. So I went from feeling how you feel on Master Fast. You feel so light, the world is your oyster. Yes, you have some irritability and moodiness and low energy at times, but overall you feel amazing on Master Fast. I felt amazing majority of the time, especially after the colonics. Thank you, Rana. My weekly colonics, you just leave there and you're just on top of the world. And I miss that feeling, I have to admit, and it's going to take me a little bit of time, but I plan to do next season change another, I'll say 30 days. If I can go 40, I will. But I want to break it properly this time. So I might say.
Very important.
Yeah.
Very important. This is where a lot of people will fail. And they do fail because their emotions take over and they're not hungry, but they keep eating. What are you feeding when you eat and you're not hungry? You're not feeding anything that your body needs. The body needs very little, if anything. Once you clean house, you can get fields energy from other places than food. And we're doing it anyway. From morning till night. So when we're not eating, we're taking in energy. This is an energy system where it's producing energy. If you get a meter, you can measure our voltage. We're producing energy. So the energy is coming from somewhere, but it ain't food.
So maybe the green juices would help me feel a little bit grounded. I was reading on the page, someone else mentioned that.
If you crave the greens, do some green juices, some more solids, but the staple needs to be the fruit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also maybe look into, you know, like one of the master fast, many master fast options, right? Where you make it a lifestyle rather than, I mean, if you're having issues with breaking it, just get into, you know, a mini master fast where you fast and break and fast and break and fast and break and just get comfortable with these. Make it a lifestyle, you know, so it's not like you have to get into a fasting period anymore, just like a long one, you know, just make it a lifestyle. I don't know, I'm into that, you know, but that's, I believe that's the best, you know, a lifestyle of fasting and eating and fasting and eating, and slowly your body will not want to eat much anyways. I remember when on the Master Fast Weekly, every time I ate, you know, if it's cooked, it feels heavy. And my body, you know, tells me I don't want any more cooked, but, you know, I'm just doing it for emotions. Yeah. It still wasn't that bad, like eating every day. Mm-hmm. But I know eventually it's going to be all raw and maybe all fruits eventually. It's just, you know, eating was mainly for my emotions. It wasn't. But to clean the body, it's not easy to clean the mind. What did you say, Gino?
We lost you for a sec.
Oh, yeah. I said it's easy to clean the body. It's very easy to clean the body, but it's not easy to work on the emotions and let go. You know. So for that, you know, training your body slowly is the best, in my opinion. Giving your body time to let go of things, your emotions. I mean, more than the body is easy. The body is happy with no food, but it's the emotional attachment. So that, I guess, takes a little bit of time. We have the tools, you know, to experiment with. Lots of tools these days to experiment with letting go. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Actually, what's interesting is at the Vipassana Center, and I know they have them all around the world, so I wanted to talk a bit about this. They actually enforce that you fast every evening. If you're an old student, you don't get dinner. You can get herbal tea and fruit, but that's it. So it's a form of fasting. I know you're eating, so you're not technically fasting, but fruit being the least obstructive, right? Food. So when I was there for the 10 days, I felt really, really good because what I would do is the breakfast, they had all your traditional breakfast options, like your toast and your peanut butter and your oatmeal and all that kind of stuff, all that obstructive stuff. And then they had a bunch of oranges. And literally no one was touching the oranges except for me. My breakfast was about 5 oranges every morning. And I would be the first one in and the last one out, because you only had about, I think they gave you maybe 20 minutes to eat your breakfast. And so I had to get in there, cut the oranges and eat them. Like, it's a mission to eat that much fruit, you know? But I knew if I don't eat that much, if I eat 1 orange, I'm not going to be satisfied. So I would have that, and then for lunch they would do it's all vegetarian. So they had cooked like curries and stuff, and then they had a salad bar. So I would just take a salad. Sometimes I would cheat on a little bit of cooked vegetarian soup or something, right? But I knew it's like, try to stay raw, try to stay light, you know? I know that the cooked food always has a lot of spices, a lot of salts and stuff, and is dehydrated. So, and then for dinner, again, they didn't offer dinner even to the new students. They just offered fruit. The old students actually could only take, tea. They couldn't take the fruit. That's what it was. So I thought that was really cool. So I came home and I kept that up. But after talking with you, Rana, I know you said, well, maybe do the fruit in the day and then do the salad at night, because I know you know about digestion. And I took that to heart, that if you eat your vegetables and then you have your fruit after, you could have some fermentation happening. I know you say if you wait, is it Gino that says wait maybe like 5 hours or something, then you could have the fruit? It's a long time to wait. So I was just eating fruit, salad, fruit. but that actually felt pretty good to me compared to now my emotional eating problems, you know? Because then I was like, okay, like I was eating till I was satisfied. I was having like generally pretty healthy food. So it's a fine balance, I think. Like it's really, I guess, to each their own, right? Sorry, Gina?
Oh, no, I didn't say anything.
Oh,
So, so are you, you're maintaining your 1 day a week, 24-hour dry?
as best as I can. I missed 1 week.
You're not doing the monthly?
The monthly, no, I haven't planned on it.
Okay.
I should though, because I understand that when you're eating, the dry fasts are easier. And I noticed that after the master fast was done, that my 24-hour dry felt like nothing. Like not nothing, but it felt way easier. So maybe I'll take your advice. You know, I would really like my body to continue healing. I'm lucky because, you know, my major issues are gone. I didn't mention before, but part of my health scare, I also, because I was so backed up in my head, I also couldn't breathe for 8 months out of my nose. At a similar time when I was going through like the whiplash, had to do with the mold in the apartment I was living at, and also just being lymphatically congested. I had to sleep upright. Like I had to like sleep erect in order to breathe. Yeah. And I remember like trying everything. Neti pot wouldn't even go through.
Oh my God.
It was so bad. That's when the asthma symptoms started to come back. It was just getting really, really scary. So this is the thing, is like people I think who have suffered enough, they're going to be ready for this level. This is the top level. Like I've been in the health food industry 15 years. I don't have to tell Gino and Rhonda, but anyone else who's listening, this is the real deal. You're not going to find anything that is better. Your body will heal itself when you give it a vacation from digestion and also from the liquids, right? Like the dry fasting.
This is why we say it's a massive fast is a glorified dry fast. We just have the whole system the way it is, so we can go a long time back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Get everything moving like that sponge accordion, you know, shake it up. This is the key.
I knew it was legit because I tried everything out there and nothing worked. And when I
food industry is not about being healthy.
Yeah, because you were teaching something that isn't been taught. So that's why I knew. I go, okay, because everything that is being taught isn't working. So now, you know, it resonates. Like you're hearing something cool, but wait, that's against what I've been taught. That might be the key, you know? Yeah,
like we're saying subtraction is where you're going to find your answers, never an addition. So this is why, you know, when you're eating, yeah, you can use herbs, you know, sporadically, this and that, but I don't recommend them, you know, just real sporadic. When you go on a fast, go hard on the herbs, because they really make a huge difference in supporting all the systems and keeping the doors open. I've seen night and day differences, people who use a lot of herbs for support and people who don't. It's a dramatic difference. They are here to help us, and not for when we're eating, because your body gets used to them very quickly. You got to keep changing formulas and this and that when you're eating. They just stop working because they get used as foods, is what I found. You don't get the punch, you don't get the biggest bang for your buck. Yeah, we can sell you herbs keep for the rest of your life if you want, but it's not going to be conducive to working the best. When you fast, we really need the support. In today's toxic man, we're so obstructed with things that are, you know, not natural. It's we really need to shake that body loose and get these things out of there.
Actually, I've found big success using the MasterFast herbs with my clients. I became a neurologist and detox specialist, and through Dr. Robert Morris, and I've been just living the dream. Like, that's what I want to be doing. I ended up ending an agreement with a supplement company I was representing because it just wasn't in alignment at all anymore. It wasn't working, that relationship. They didn't want me anymore, and I didn't want to be with them anymore. So it just naturally ended just earlier this week. And I had been getting more and more clients, and actually my clients, they're like menopausal women and like older gentlemen. Majority of my clients are like elderly. I have one lady, 82 years old, is such an inspiration. Veronica is her name. She was seeking answers her whole life. Okay, she now is trusting in what I can tell her. Now, she's just starting with 12-hour dry fasts, you know, but I'm very lucky because I'm finding in all of their irises strong constitutions. Strong. So when I give them these herbs and they do 12-hour dry every night, or maybe some days of fruit, very like minimal obstructive foods, they're having huge healing. You know, they're not doing the MasterFast system, but we're taking what we're learning from the MasterFast system and we're giving the best herbs available. You know, 2-to-1 ratio you can't find in any health food store. Like,
put them on the hybrid.
Yeah.
1 meal a day.
Yeah. A lot of them, the biggest challenge is like, you know, what they've been taught about how they should eat and getting them to change their thinking. So that's where majority of my clients are at. And when I do like public speaking on health and things like that, I want to start doing it more just like for free. I had companies hire me to do it. And now I just want to just start getting the info out. And that's why when this opportunity came, I said, yes, you know, maybe my story could inspire someone. That's what this world is all about. That's what this life is all about. So I'm thinking about just getting up in front of like groups, maybe just get some people together at like a library or wherever we can, you know, like minds attract each other. And, you know, I think with that type of clientele, I'm getting the general public, you know, if they're really suffering, they'd be willing to do the MasterFast system. But even just teaching a little bit about like fruits and, you know, you got to kind of help bridge that gap sometimes too, you know?
Yeah. That's where, you know, get them on a mucusless diet. That's, you know, that's a good movement to go towards. You know, the thing that is satisfying emotionally is cooked fruit. If you've tried that.
Oh yeah, I tried bananas recently with dates. It was ridiculous. I felt like I was having like flamboyed or whatever, bananas.
You cooked the bananas?
Yeah. So good, so good. I wanted to mention too, when I was on the MasterFast, I had some equilibrium problems, very mild, and I was given the licorice extract by Rana as a free gift. Those little candies are ridiculous. Like, I was getting a colonic and she had kind of like moved something out of me that, like, I don't know, stirred some new type of release or energy or something. And I was like, oh, I don't know. My appointment was done. And I was like, I don't know if I could get up. And she was like, oh, do you feel lightheaded? And I go, yeah. And she showed me the acupuncture spot. And I sat up and I breathed. And next thing you know, she's coming at me. Rana, you're coming at me with the licorice. She's not paying attention. And I took that, and it was like within a few seconds, I was back again. And I was able to stand up and go. But luckily, she had given me the rest of the box, because it started getting to that point in my MasterFast where I could totally see, like, you know, why people would be afraid of doing the MasterFast or doing fasting in general. I know Arnold Ehret spoke about it in his book, that he was really dizzy and faint, and it almost made him give up. You know, thankfully he stuck to it, and he ended up helping how many, hundreds of thousands of people heal, right? But I can see how scary it can be for some people, you know? Yeah,
it's scary because of the lack of understanding what's happening. You fasters will experience this. I experienced tons of that in the first few years, and then it gets easier and easier. But still, after all these years, occasionally get into a fast. So I'll run into maybe a little light dizziness for a few seconds. It's not like it ever was before. And you, whoa, where you know, this is you know, it gets easier and easier, especially when you start dry fasting more and more and more and more. Your body gets clearer and clearer. His formula, V equals P, take away O. That's my mantra.
Yeah, that's amazing. I have a question too, Gino. When I was on the fast a few times, like I really depended on the broth, the vegetable broth. Just being such an emotional person as I am, I found like I think there was 1 week where like I just had it every single night all of a sudden. I know it's supposed to just be as needed, but I had made like a fresh batch and there's that, oh, I don't want to waste mentality, or I guess I could have frozen it, but then you have the thought when you want to enjoy it. So, but my question is, I was sneaking some sweet potato and like some starchy stuff in there, like squash. Is that acceptable on the Master Fast system?
In the broth?
Yeah.
Not a good idea, no.
Okay, because I don't feel like it's talked about enough. And then I realized I saw it somewhere, and I go, oh shoot, yeah, I guess I was a little bit cheating on that, you know? Oopsie. I also cheated on something else, actually. I see Rana here. It just reminded me. I knew we could have a little honey and maple syrup at times. And for some reason, like I got mixed up about the coconut oil for the dental health and the oil pulling and stuff, the detoxing through oil pulling. And I thought you could just eat a little bit of it if you wanted on the Master Fast, which is unacceptable. No fat. But I just got into this weird mindset where I was like, yeah, I'm sure we could have a little coconut oil if we wanted. So I took like I think just like a small, like a teaspoon. It wasn't more than a teaspoon. And I was so crazy because I was like, ooh, I'm going to mix it with some honey and make like a little dessert thing. So I did raw honey and coconut oil together, which we know like is totally a fermentation situation going on there. So anyways, the next day I noticed in the toilet, I actually I thought, oh yeah, I'm gonna go have like a number 2 or whatever, and I just noticed there was nothing. So I looked a little closer, and it was just the exact teaspoon of coconut oil I had taken in its like whole form, like not in its whole, it wasn't solid, it was liquid, but it was like a little puddle of it in the water. And I go, oh, crazy, like my whole digestion is totally turned off, because I was something like 10 days already in. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, I can be a little bit immature at times, but I'll tell you, for the majority of it, I was very mature. You know, I'm just trying to have fun now and share the stories. But like I said, my sister was on it at the same time, and I kind of regretted a little bit, like telling her about the Master Fast, because it was no longer my personal journey. It was my journey plus her journey. And she was calling me with, you know, sometimes you might lose a little faith. I'm not one to lose faith in something I believe in, but, you know, sometimes people are on the Master Fast and they start getting a little scared and start getting these thoughts. And so she's writing or texting me or calling, and I'm like having to defend the system. And I'm just feeling like, no, I don't want to do this. I just want to relax in my journey, like the 9-day that I did when no one was doing it with me. And it was my personal, you know, journey. So, but I am happy that I introduced it to her. Ultimately, I don't regret it. But for a minute, I was a little bit regretting it. Because you have to be mature for someone else, right? It's hard to be responsible on your own, let alone be responsible for yourself.
So did your breathing clear up a bit?
Oh yeah, everything clears right up. I was doing a lot of the tools, the hot and cold packs in the back of the neck, the burnt wood stick. I was dry brushing every morning. I was bouncing. I have a Bellicon, like a nice trampoline that's not springs, it's those bungee cords, and
right.
The lymph moving. So 10 minutes every morning on there. I was like in this good routine, and I was been very responsible, and yeah, it was great, you know. I kind of miss how, like, I totally do. I miss how I felt being on it for sure. I'm excited for the next season change for sure.
Awesome.
Thank you guys so, so much. The support you gave, like when I was scared and you were there for me, a couple scary things happened. Like I mentioned the dizziness and stuff, like Gino's right there calling you, like all of a sudden he's FaceTiming you. You just write a simple message like, hey, like, I'm not sure, but then all of a sudden your phone's ringing. You're like, hello. He's like right there in your living room with you. It was, you guys were both so supportive. I'm really lucky because I'm in Toronto, so I get to do that.
Yeah, if I see people in real trouble, you know, I try and get a hold of them because it's usually all fear-based. What they're going through, some lack of understanding, and you know, sometimes all they need is a good enema. That usually solves most of the issues. So, you know, breath work and so on and so forth. There's some extra rest, or you know, a few people we ran into weren't just drinking enough, and they dried themselves out. And they started backing up. So that's been an issue for some people because they're trying to go too much in the dry. Being a first-time faster is not recommended. So you know, there's different things. We understand now a lot more after so many people went through it. What's happening? It's very, very good when we get feedback, so we can learn more and more from each other. That's the only way it's going to happen. Because by yourself, yeah, you can experience for yourself, but you got a wide range of every kind of whatever and emotions and everything else thrown in there. So anything goes while you're fasting. Anything goes. But as I say, if you get the basic concept that we got to remove the obstructions, and while you're fasting, if you have any changes, it doesn't matter what it is, pains, this, that, as long as there's changes, just jump for joy.
Actually, to speak to that, I actually made a list of all the changes as they occurred, just so that I could talk about it with people afterwards. And I think everyone should make a list, you know, as these changes are coming up, just write down what it is. It's amazing later to look back and say, oh yeah, like you actually forget. It's crazy because you can be totally suffering, you know, like it was scary when my wrist went numb. I was like, oh, what's happening to me? You know, or when my jaw started like being more inflamed and painful, I thought, oh no, like, you know, you want to blame it on the fast, but I just have so much faith. I'm really blessed. I've always been that way. I have a lot of belief and I know that I'm protected. I'm being guided at all times, but yeah, you look back and it's like a distant memory, like a whole other life, you know, when you felt that way.
Yeah, people forget very quickly when their pains are gone, very quickly. And they remember very quick the ones who go on to eating binges, because some of the pains start coming back, and then they're going, what's going on? You ate your way back to where you were. What do you mean, what's going on?
Yeah, no, for sure, I'm feeling a little bit inflamed from being a bit indulgent. Like you totally will notice the difference the minute you start.
Yeah, this is the importance of the dry fast, the dailies, the weekly, the monthly, the season changes. You know, this is where we shoot for the 5-day, 6-day, 7-day, 9-day dry fast when we eat. And this, you know, over the few years practicing, you'll get there if that's what you want to do. Fasting, you know, becomes a love, and you look forward to them. The dry fasts and the other fasts. The dry fast is really the only true fast. Everything else is not fast. When you're drinking and eating anything, it's not fasting. The true fast is dry fast. That's a fast. And that's why it's a major part of the master fast, because the body is the only thing that can do anything. Everything else, we're just a support and assisting. And we keep, you know, saying this over and over. The body is doing all the work. Just if you allow it and get out of the way, put that mind in a box, close the box, leave it in the corner. It'll be there anytime you want it.
Do you know how long have you gone again? 12 days or something like that?
Oh, I've done many. 10, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Yeah. And you go like as long as you can fully dry, and then you start doing a little bit the herbal wine.
Yeah, the 12 in Italy, all I did is rinsed my mouth with tinctures.
Wow.
I was spitting them out. I wasn't doing them there. I went as long as I could. I can't remember how many days. I think it was 7 or 8. And then I started jumping in the cold sea in the winter, and I was starting to rinse my mouth. You know, but then I, you know, I'm always experimenting. I go, what would happen if you do a little bit of tinctures, right? and I got amazing filtration happening. So I started, you know, changing it around. I don't see it, if you actually, I even experimented doing more tinctures, and you don't want to do that. You'll get dried right out from the alcohol. So, you know, you just need to do even drops. Just it gives you that little boost, a little more confidence. And we've put it in the protocol of the dry, wet, dry, you know, where you can do the tinctures, and then where you can semi-dry, where you can do small amounts of the juice and tea alternating every hour, just to get the confidence in you and push, you know. If for 2 days you're feeling, oh, well, I can't go, you know, start introducing that. So, you know, 3 days, oh, okay, you know, I got another day with just, you know, 4 ounces of liquid. And believe me, you're in a semi-dry. It's not dry, but you're in a semi-dry. And if you would do that for another 3-4 days, you're going to get benefits. You're going to get benefits. So, but, you know, at the same time, we need to understand the limits of coming from a very dehydrated state and a poor diet and whatever. We're very, very dehydrated at cell level. So we need to do it slowly over the weeks and months and years to be able to build and build and build. And, you know, everybody will be able to do that if that's becomes their love. If fasting becomes your love, you'll be able to do it. It's you can't force it. You just allow it to happen little by little. Like for me, you know, I've reached, you know, basically 2.5, 3 days weekly. This week I only did 2 days, but mostly I'm doing closer to the 3 days every week. It's just something you do. And every once in a while, once you do a longer one, you'll take a break, because you don't go back to your weekly dries right away if you do like a 10-day dry, 9-day or whatever. You got to take a break from those and just maintain your dailies. You know, dry fasting, especially when you go long, it's accumulative. Like they say, 1 day of dry is worth 3 days of water fasting. No, maybe the first day, and then the second day you go maybe 3.5 days, and the fourth day you go to 5-6 days, and then it keeps going exponentially. It goes deeper and deeper and stronger and stronger. Like, so when you do a 7-day, you're probably like a 40-day water fast. But you know, we've seen water fast, and I haven't heard anybody filtering on water fast. So those are not part of my existence anymore. I would not put people on water fast. If they want to do them, go ahead. But what dry fast is where everything is at. It's absolutely the way we can connect to the blueprints. This is where everything happens in the dries. The wet is just to wash it back out, and then go back on the dry, and then we wash it out, and we're going back and forth. This is the magic. This is how it happens. And it's at no cost. When you're doing your dry fast, and when you're doing it as a lifestyle, you know, 3 days a week, add it up at the end of the month, you know, your 12 days, how much less money am I spending on food? How much at the end of the year? And then you have to include my season change ones, where I'm doing at least usually a 7 to 10 day is the average, and sometimes a little more. And you add that in at the end of the year, that's a lot of fasting, right? So, you know, you save a ton of money when you introduce less is more into your lifestyle. And it keeps spending less and less and less on food as the years go by. You know, will everybody be breatharian? Maybe not. But eventually that's where humanity's going. Not to breatharian, but using fields instead of food as energy. Food's going to be outdated sooner or later. You know, humanity's waking up slowly. We can see it. If we introduced Master Fast a few years ago, even, people thought it was nuts, 108 days. I thought nobody would do 108 days. I thought I was the only lunatic myself. And Miranda jumped in right away. But, then another person, what do we have now? Over 70 something? That did 108, but yeah, we have, you know, I don't know how many did, you know, even a small amount of master fasts, thousands that have done it now, that are on the page and off the page. But it's amazing, amazing, amazing. We got to learn to let the mind go is the biggest challenge for fasting. That's what I see. Even though people read what can happen, when they're in it and something's happening, everything goes blank. And we start getting all these negative thoughts and, oh, maybe I need this and maybe I need that. It goes through all of our minds. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. We don't need anything external. And the more we embrace it and have the faith and the trust, the more the body responds, you know, and allows things to heal at levels that are unheard of and unseen, that we're seeing people going through. It's just beautiful. So your sister was going through a little bit of challenges as well. Well, she did a 30, you said, 30-day?
Yeah, she jumped right in. I told her, I go, maybe just start with 9 days and just see. Because she was one of these people where when she doesn't eat, if she doesn't eat and it's like been several hours, something switches in her. And she's nasty. She can be really nasty. And she'll admit to it. The day before she started, she goes, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know how I'm going to not eat. I was like, I don't know how you're going to not eat either, because she gets so like moody or like.
That's when I called you. I think you posted something about your sister passing out. And then I called you.
Yeah, I know. I didn't want to bring it up because I thought it could scare people.
No, we share everything.
Okay, well, basically, I'll tell
there's two or three people that bash their heads, and this is not what we want to see. This is where I started. We need to make this aware, because we have the tools to use. You know, if you feel anything when you're getting up, you got to do it slowly when you're a new faster. From a chair or from a bed, you got to get up slowly. Make sure your horizon's good. You know, stand up. You know. Take your time, breathe, and if you feel dizzy or anything, right away, and you crouch or lie down, and it'll pass. Just breathe. So people gotta understand this could happen. It's not, you're not dying.
Well, she was really cool actually when it came to that. Like, I'll tell you the story. So we went up to the cottage. We're both master fasting. You know, it was so easy. We just pack our juice. Like, you don't have to pack all the food normally.
Exactly.
Right, and. I'm sitting over here. I'm actually really into alkaline foot baths and body baths. I take these special salts. They're found in like 25 different countries, Alka bath salts. It's made out of precious stones that are finely ground and sea salts and stuff. It achieves a bit of a higher pH than like just a regular sea salt and Epsom salt, but it's not too high pH, because like baking soda would be like corrosive or whatever. So it's supposed to be the ideal pH. And I was soaking my feet. Actually, this is what's really helped me in my life, because my kidneys have been backed up like forever until I started Master Fast. I wasn't actually even on Dr. Morse's program. My kidneys were not opening. So I had like no filtration through the kidneys. So I was using my skin, right, the third kidney, and doing like 2-hour long baths, just hitting all the sweaty glands and sebaceous glands to get all the acids and toxins out. So I was doing this as part of the Master Fast as well. I would soak my feet, and it would be like maybe at the start of my dry, but pretty much my dry would start after the foot bath. So I'm sitting there soaking, and I hear boom. No, first I hear like the sound of like a sock slipping on the floor. Like I hear slip, and then I hear boom, boom. And I turn, and my sister's just on the ground. Luckily, we have linoleum floor, so it's very light. And she didn't hit her head. She fell on her shoulder. Afterwards, we talked about it, and there was no bump on her head or anything. Just her shoulder was sore. But I didn't see her fall, but I just heard the noise. And I went over, and her body was kind of like convulsing a little bit. I'm laughing now, but it was really scary at the time. And I was just like, that, I was like, she came to right away. So she kind of convulsed, and then she was like, oh, just kind of getting up out of nowhere. And I'm like, Yvette, taking you to the bed, come now. All of a sudden I switch into nurse Jeanette mode. And I'm like, we're going into the bed. And she's like, what? I'm okay. What are you doing? Like, she didn't even know what had happened. And so that was even more disturbing. So then I'm like, hey, we're getting you in the bed. She's like, I'm okay. I'm like, no, you shut up. We're going in the bed now. She's my older sister, so it's hard to get her to listen to me. You know, the older sister always knows best. So I get her in the bed, and she's like, what's going on? I'm like, Yvette, you literally just fainted. Like, I was really dead serious. I was like tearing up. I got so scared. That's my sister. Like, I thought maybe like for the 1 second she was like convulsing. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be a nightmare. We got to take her to the hospital or something. But thank God she was fine. It was just, you know what had happened? She was lying out on the other couch. So we have like a whole setup there at the cottage. So she was full out lying down, resting for like over an hour. We watched a movie. And then she was going to get up and have her pudding. She has it at night. So she got up within the matter of like, it took her literally 2 seconds to go to the cupboard to open to get the pudding from the kitchen. So she just like got up and went. And that's when she was grabbing the cupboard door, she went boom, boom. And fell back. So I had her in the bed for a second, and she goes, my friends and family call me Jin. She goes, Jin, like, thank God you were there. She goes, it happened a couple times earlier, and I was in denial. She found herself on the floor twice that day earlier and was just like, oh, I thought I just like laid down on the floor.
It's, yeah. It happens usually before somebody's going to have a big release.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I believe it. She wasn't that good with the enemas, I have to be honest. Like, sometimes, you know. She did do them. You'll have to hear it from her. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure sometimes she wasn't doing them. Or
also, I remember she came for the colonics, right? And she had some good stuff coming out of her, remember?
Yeah. Oh, she came the next day after the cottage. And you were having us take pictures of what was coming out because it was so crazy. For me, too. We were getting out some crazy stuff on this master fast, like worms. And I know they're there. They're part of the putrefaction process of, you know, the rotting flesh that we ate in our past and this and that. Apparently vegans of 10 years still have them, right? But it's just part of, I guess, the sewer system, as we call it. But it does make you feel a lot better to get that stuff out, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, after that, she didn't have it much, right? She didn't have much of the passing out. And also I remember she did the licorice, but she also upped her juice because she was not drinking enough.
She wasn't drinking the 2 liter, like now that we're talking about people trying to
She was drinking even maybe 1 liter, maybe.
Only a liter.
Yeah, and she's pretty tall, right?
Yeah, no, she uses a lot of energy too. Like, she's like really high energy. Like, if you think
that was very little for her. That was very little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually dropped the licorice extract off to her house for her. Mm-hmm. She started taking that right away. And the licorice makes such a difference. We both measured our blood pressure and we were both really low. Like,
yeah, you know why that happens?
Yeah.
On a fast? Because the body's putting the energy in other areas. So it brings down the pressure to reserve energy to put it towards healing. And people get scared and all that, and you know, some people will get more dizzy than others. But once you understand this and you ride it through, it's fine. You know, it's don't worry about it. The body knows what it's doing.
The biggest thing that I wanted, one of my goals, like I would say the biggest goal for Master Fast, was to find peace and calmness and just to be content in life and to have that. Just that feeling like throughout my days, like that's my main goal. And I wanted that from my sister. So secretly I was a little bit selfish in telling her about the master fast because, you know, with the adrenal issues being so prevalent and emotional problems, it's like, you know, you want to see your family heal. It's hard when you know there's something that could make someone feel better. It's hard to keep it to yourself, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, I'm really happy that she did it. But yeah, I think her and I need to make it a lifestyle, and we need to realize, you know, the emotional eating and things like that is not serving us anymore. And I'm starting to see it with how much I can eat, as I mentioned. And I think the saving money thing is so true, because even if you are eating, even if you're not on a dry fast, you just can't eat as much at all. Like, I'm going to the markets. We're so lucky in Toronto. They have all those little Asian markets. And I'm buying conventional these days, you know. I'm not all brainwashed by the organics anymore, thanks to you guys. And I'm going in, like, with maybe like $8 in my pocket and buying enough fruit for, like, 2 days worth for $8. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's even in Toronto, like, the fruit's getting crazy, the prices, but you know, depending what fruit you buy. Like, I bought a bag of cherries with like $15, one meal. Just a small bag of cherries. So it depends. We can get some deals sometimes, but prices have been going crazy over here. But it's the food cost is still, it's I laugh. It's not next to nothing. You know, every month. And just we keep doing that. Like, you can force yourself to eat more if you want, right? You can force yourself, which a lot of people are doing. They're not hungry, but they keep eating, and that's the challenge. You know, even if it's fruit and you overeat, you're still not going to feel great. But when you start going into the foods that, you know, shouldn't really be having, then it becomes a real challenge on the system, especially after a long fast, where you run into challenges where, you know, people can kill themselves, you know, going for a pizza with cheese after a long fast, something like that. You know, it could happen. It's not something to play around with. But people do, you know, they experiment and they want to test themselves. We can only give advice. You know, it's after a long fast, you got to be careful. Very careful breaking a fast for at least a few weeks minimum, especially the long ones.
Yeah, wasn't there someone who died because he ate white potatoes after a fast? Is that in Arnold Ehret's book?
I think it's in Arnold Ehret's book. Yeah, he ate. Yeah, it is. He ate boiled potatoes and it got stuck, made a blockage in his intestine. They operated and he died. But you know, with what we know now, you know, you could with herbs and stuff, you could get the blockage to move. There's ways of doing it. But the best thing is, don't eat that stuff after a long fast.
Well, I have to be honest. I actually got, like, annoyed with my sister, and I don't know, we haven't been that close now for a minute. So she says she's going to tune in and watch this.
Annoyed for, in what sense?
Pardon me?
Annoyed with her in what sense?
Oh, because after the fast, now I should have just been compassionate. I was in the wrong. But she was sharing with me some of the mistakes she was making with her diet. And I was kind of listening to her. And also I watched her. We went up to the cottage again. She had some friends up there, and I kind of watched how she was eating and drinking and stuff. And, you know, I don't want to be the mom. Like, I'm the little sister, you know, but I'm there kind of like, okay, I'm just going to watch. And at that time I was still being fairly, you know, good with my choices. So here I am, like, I don't know who I think I am. Like, all of a sudden I'm like, I'm going to put my foot down, and I'm texting her, like, leave me out of it. I don't want to know what you're eating. Like, stop telling me about this, you know, because I was so worried, because I knew, like, I know that when your system is totally cleaned out, you know, and then you go and you, like, I saw her eating a bunch of potatoes, white potatoes with butter and stuff, and salt. And I was just like, oh, like, Okay, I guess I was being quite judgmental, and I really feel bad for the way I treated her, because I could have had more compassion, especially now that I've fallen off the deep end too with my diet. So it's easy to judge someone else and say, oh, you shouldn't be eating like that after a fast, you know, but until you've experienced it for yourself, you don't know the right, you know, approach you should have with that person. And it should be one with compassion, I think, if you're truly, if you love that person, you know, and you care about them.
Yeah, it's challenges. This stuff is very addictive. We're all addicted to foods, and especially the stuff we grew up with, for our mother cooked. Those are the most addictive. And these days, you know, they have the designer addiction foods, which the corporate cardboard box stuff. They're actually designed to keep you addictive. So those kind of addictions are different type. You know, when it's actually designed. The one from our mother is the motherly love, is what we're trying to grab. That's different versus a corporation designing something to keep you actually addictive. It's two different things, but they're both addictive because we all want more love. And that's you know, food is probably the biggest industry on this planet by far, out of everything. Food. You know, drugs is probably right behind it. When it goes, they go hand in hand.
Yeah, because like you guys keep saying in the group, like it's very numbing, you know. It's nice to go around and feel a little bit like less sensitive sometimes, but then again, like when I was on the master fast and my system was sensitive, you know, I could deal with life better. So it's interesting that you it's like that pull, like it's pulling you back. Like there's this strong force Gino talks about that wants to keep pulling you back into like your old ways and your old kind of decisions to numb yourself, you know, with food and alcohol and drugs, whatever it may be.
Yeah, sorry, my daughter was at the door.
No worries. Yeah, I was just saying about that strong pull, you know, it's like something in you wants to go back to how it used to be.
Oh yeah.
Numbed state, you know.
It's that the power of that, the love, the feeling of the love, because every time we take that bite of food, there's an emotion attached to every cell from that bite, and it becomes part of your being. It's coming from your mother. And that's how we are so attached to that, you know, beautiful motherly love that most of us had. A few people that grew up without that, it's pretty sad, but that's very, very, very strong pull it has. You know, I stayed away from cooked foods completely for way over 9 years, and I just would stay away from my mother's cooking. You don't want to smell that stuff. It triggers things. When you have these things triggering you all the time, it becomes a challenge. If you stay away from them, it's much easier. You know, if you're going to go into your life, regular things, same friends, doing the same thing, socializing, all these triggers are going to hit you one after another. You know what I mean? And it won't be. It will be very challenging to not do it if you don't have a little bit of experience with that. But once you're on your own, and majority of the time you're fine. After a while, these things won't bother you as much until you start doing a long fast. You start digging deep, and then all the emotions start coming through, be released, because everything comes to the surface. Everything. Any past traumas, injuries, so on and so forth. And not only from our being or our parents, from all the generations before that, since the beginning of time, we have it all recorded within ourselves. We carry it all. So we have a choice, like I say, to add to the imbalance or start rebalancing, for our offspring to have a better chance. It's our choice which way we want to go. It's pretty amazing.
I have to say the hardest thing on the master fast is that you can't eat, like you can't suppress those emotions. I keep telling everyone, like, they go, oh, how did you do it? How could you not eat for like, first it was 9 days, and then it was like, oh, how could you not eat for 40 days? And it's like, honestly, the not eating is not the problem. Like once you set your mind to that, you know, you can do it. It's the emotions that bubble up, and like you say, the traumas and the fears and all those kind of negative emotions that are the hard ones, because you would normally go to food to suppress. So that for me was the most difficult, but also the most rewarding, because to just be able to sit with those emotions for the first time in my life, I think was very powerful, you know, in this journey of growth that I guess we're all on, you know?
Yeah, you know, we're all learning. We're all learning. And we're seeing a lot of magic happening, which is amazing. And that's the beauty. So we can all inspire each other and, you know, keep expanding and expanding. Everything's possible. The things that we've seen, it's just, whoa. So nothing is surprising, but it's amazing to watch things transform like that. Awesome. Anything else, or anybody have any questions for Jeanette? Does anybody post on the chat here? No, nothing here. Oh, there is. Wait a minute. Oh, no. Okay. Nobody have any questions?
I'm also available anytime too on the group, so if no one has questions now, just message me anytime. I always love to be of service, you know.
I have a question. You mentioned that your shoulder was popping, right? Popping out. Is this while you're on the fast, or does it still happen after now?
Actually, it's funny that you asked that, because it's been 2 months since the fast has been ended, and it was happening during the fast. And I didn't have it happen ever since until today. There was one little like pop.
Because I get it in the chest.
Oh, true.
Popping, and I keep putting it back into place. It's very uncomfortable. I'm just wondering how.
Are you eating fats?
I am. Yeah, I'm eating crap. Not every day.
I've shared this before. When I went through my high fat stunt, after it was coming to close to 2 years into the second year, I started having my SI joints popping out and my ribs popping out every month almost. So, you know, the fats, they're stimulating, they're numbing, and they're plugging. They plug you up lymphatically and through your GI tract.
So is this inflammation, is it?
Yeah, definitely.
You get an inflammation.
Master fast, Robert?
Yeah, he's done it.
Sorry?
How many days has he done the fast?
Oh, I did 39 days.
Were you getting any, like, was there anything happening with it then, or during the fast?
I don't actually remember, to be honest with you.
Okay, that's why I'm saying, next time you do one, write down everything that changes in your body, because you'll be surprised. Like, you know, you don't even remember, but it could have been flared up even on the fast. There could have been some healing starting to happen.
I had a lot of symptoms on the fast. I don't remember if this was during or after, but it comes and goes, and it's very annoying, and it's very hard to put it into place. And when you put it in, and if I slouch, it pops out again, and it's
Are you planning any like even like full fruit diets, or like as mucusless as possible coming up, or any more master fasting?
Yeah, so I do good for a while. Like I do a couple of days on fruits, and then I get sick of fruits. I cannot look at watermelon or apple anymore. So then I do a fast, like a day, like I do dry for a day, and then I'm so hungry. I say, oh, okay, I love watermelon, so I do some fruits again, and then sometimes, like on the weekends, so I just end up eating some cooked food with my wife. You know, we like treat ourselves, and then I'm back to the drawing board and I'm back starting all over again because I get inflammation in my body, and then, okay, I need to stop. And then I start eating fruits again and do a little fast, and I do good for a while, and then I just keep going back and forth, and it's not good. But,
Yeah. Pay attention when if you, I wouldn't recommend it, but when you eat fats, that's usually, especially if you overdo nuts, seeds, avocados, oils are the worst. You'll see you'll start popping these things out of place because you get the inflammation in those areas. It gets all irritated, and the tendons that are holding everything together in the muscles, because they're irritated, they're looser, and that's why you get popping out. When there's no inflammation, everything's tight, strong, everything's held into place.
Like I was saying before, I had some good healing happening even while eating. You know, like you're saying, that's pretty much what I did for a year and a half. Like I wasn't low fat. Like I was raw, but I was still having fats. And I would do like fruit some days, like you were saying, Robert, and then fall off a little with some cooked food, but very little. Like I would say I was 80% raw. But I was on the herbs, and a lot of my health issues started to subside. So it helped me to a certain extent. It didn't help me to the level that Master Fast has helped me, but if you are using the herbs like a little bit, even maybe on your 24-hour dry, you're going to use the herbs or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm saving them when I'm going to do my long fast right now. So, but yeah, if I was going to push it maybe more than 2 or 3 days, maybe take a little bit to help.
Yeah.
But I still don't know because if I overdo it, right? If I just do too many dry days, I dry out myself very quick and I get backed up, like Gino says, pretty quick. So I don't want to do too many dry days if I'm not doing it properly. I'm just kind of want to do maybe one day a week, maybe 2 max, and then eat fruits. And every time I break the cycle, it's not because I was craving foods. It's just because, I did good for a while, did a week or 2. And, my wife, she wants to go get some food in the restaurant. And, okay, let's go get some food in the restaurant, just a little bit. And then I get a bit of food and then 2 weeks went by and I've been eating crap all this 2 weeks. It's like, what happened?
Yeah.
I was doing so good for a while. And then, oh, man.
Oh, I can totally relate. The same thing going on over here. I'm telling you though, Robert, the herbs, like I know Gino, I know you don't teach this, and for you and your experience, you don't like to use the herbs. You don't believe in using the herbs while you eat. But I'm just saying, if you are going to be eating like that sometimes, like maybe the herbs could be a little bit helpful. Like, yeah, maybe the body sees them a bit more like food, but honestly, like I experience healing while eating it on the herbs to a certain extent. So I'm just saying, if you're suffering and you're going to eat like that anyways, maybe do take a little bit of the herbs. I don't know.
I'm not gonna eat like that anyways.
Exactly. Stop eating.
Maybe the best thing is to make it a lifestyle. At the end of the day, it's a lifestyle, right? So choose a lifestyle that you want and go for it. Have a program and go for it, whether it's fasting or eating clean or whatever it is, and then decide when you want to take the herbs. But definitely herbs are much better when we're fasting. So.
Also, I have a question for Gino. I was just thinking about the fruit diet. So there's different race of people, right? There's white, there's black, there's Asian. There's people living in North Europe, South Europe, right? And the fruits that we buy that come from all over the world, like bananas, watermelons, water fruits, they don't grow locally at the places where maybe different race of people lives. So do you think it still applies, like any fruits really for anybody?
We've talked about this before on the board. The best fruit is locally grown, and the next best thing is going to be whatever we can get imported. But we can only do the best we can do in the situation we're in. If there's an area that doesn't grow any fruit, what are you going to do?
Because my favorites would be like watermelons and bananas. If I'm really craving some bananas, but watermelons and apples. But the the apples is the only thing really I can think of that grows locally where I'm from. Maybe some pears,
Peaches,
berries.
pears, plums, probably berries. Yeah. What else can grow on those? It's probably similar climate to Canada. We get quite a few stuff here: nectarines, grapes, cherries, apricots. There's quite a bit of stuff we get here. We got cold winters, but south of here near Niagara Falls, the St. Catharines area, they grow a lot of fruit. It's like a microclimate where they grow a lot of fruit. Like that stuff grows really well, but it can grow even in this area here, all that stuff. So that's during the spring, summer, and fall. But the winter, you ain't gonna get any fruit. I gotta do a video. I did my garden this year. I haven't been taking care of it much, but and I transplanted. I bought plants and I planted them, and the zucchinis, they went crazy. I've never ever seen them this big. I just sprayed them with some of the plasma water, and they just went. I've never ever. The leaves are. I gotta show. Nothing else grew great because I haven't been taking care of it. I'm not hardly eating anything, but the zucchinis are going nuts. And then a friend of mine was over today, and he said he was doing the same thing, and he put it in a poor soil area, and he showed me pictures of everything he was growing nuts. And now what he did, he grew from seed, and he soaked the seed in the plasma water. And I don't know, we've mentioned this on the board before. If you soak a GMO seed in plasma water, it reverts back to its original strain. Goodbye, Mr. GMO companies. How's that, folks? With plasma science, this is creation. If you understand, CO2 GANs you can use the seawater GANs. They work great on plants. In Australia, they're doing a lot of tests. I can't remember his name. And they have a greenhouse, and they've been doing a lot of tests, and the comparison is night and day in the growth, and then the shelf life is way longer. So this is getting exciting. Getting into the more of the plasma. Plants are already working on energy fields. They're not eating physical foods like people think. They're using the soil as like a CO2 box. I've shared how to collect CO2. We have the different plates. The roots of the plants are using the soil as the salts, because that's where the minerals are, and the air, and they're collecting and absorbing their energy that way. That's why they're much more evolved than we are on a spiritual soul level. They don't need to eat. You got a few carnivore plants, but the majority of the plants are doing it without that. The carnivores, I think they're stuck into wanting to be half human or something. I don't know, or half animal. But it's amazing the stuff that we're seeing coming up with plasma. It's just truly amazing. Everybody should investigate and play with some GANs materials. It's not hard to do. We have Kelly, is that how you pronounce her name? She was doing her sprouts, and she never experienced growth like that before without the plasma. Kaylee. Yep. Yeah. She's posted a few times. She's done the master fast. So this is these things, these foods, and the tastes are much better. When I was doing the ocean water stuff, feeding plants ocean water, the taste, amazing. Shelf life, everything the same. But with the plasma water, it's even easier. What are we at? We're at 2 hours, Jeanette. Anything else you want to share?
Just my appreciation. Thank you so much for creating the system and being so available for all of us. Like the fact that you guys do these Saturday nights and Wednesdays, and it's like you're just here for us. And there's nothing out there like this. There's nothing out there that has made me heal the fastest and the best. So thank you. I'm grateful.
Awesome. You're welcome. Yeah, you mentioned about the herbs when you're eating. Yeah, you're going to get some benefits, but you'll come to plateau very quickly while you're eating. And this is where we have a run of so many people that came from doing a lot of fruits, and a lot of them did herbs, and they couldn't solve their issues. They get on master fast, and some magic starts happening. It's because you need the rest of the digestive system. It's that simple.
I can attest to that too personally. So
it's your body's doing this. This is the thing of the mentality that, you know, we need to take this, we need to take that, we need the mineral, vitamin, fat, blah 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 blah. Mind chatter, monkey mind, put in a box, doesn't work. You're never going to figure it out. Let the body do what it knows it to do on its own. Don't need the mind. Just let it do what it knows how to do. And dry fasting is where all the magic happens. And then we wash it out. And then we do it again. And then we wash it out. And then we do it again. You know, we have Salome, who's a pro tennis player, did 108 days practicing 5-6 hours a day, 5-6 days a week. And she did a tournament. And she threw up in the tournament and finished the tournament. So, you know, this is she's been eating clean for a few years and you know, raw and fruit. So, you know, this is not going to be somebody coming from a sad diet. I wouldn't expect them to be able to do something like that. But you never know if they have strong genetics. You never know. Like we say, if you have energy, you use it. You know, we want people to move. We don't want people fasting in bed. That's old thinking. No, we're in a new era now. We're moving. We're you know, keeping that energy system, the lymph system moving. Because in bed, your lymph system's not moving, and you ain't gonna have any energy. I've tested this over and over on dry fast. So at the beginning, I was laying around, I couldn't move, and then I said, "What happens if I start moving?" And bingo, the lights went on, and everything changed with my dry fast, and I was able to go longer and longer, and make it easier and easier by movement, forcing the movement, allowing it to happen. You know, even though I didn't want to do it, just do it. Do it anyway. You know, there's going to be days where you're going to need the rest. You know, you're going to try and do those movements. It's just some of those days, okay, enemas, okay, my body wants rest, and you let it rest. But the majority of the time, you'll be able to do things that you're doing while you're eating, and if not better.
Yeah, by day 20, I started into the real active yogas again, like the kind of vinyasa yogas. I was only doing like maybe 1 or 2 a week, but you have so much energy. Like I was working every day. I was going for hour-long walks on days that I didn't feel particularly energetic. I would just sleep a lot, and then I would go for a walk in nature for an hour, but I was always moving. I'm actually moving less now that I'm not on master fast, just because the food is weighing me down, you know?
Yeah. And most people notice they have more time.
Oh yeah, the preparing of the food, it's like so much. When you're healthy, right? When you're eating raw and like vegetables and fruits, it's a lot of prep, you know?
Well, not for fruit, just grab and eat.
I don't know. For fruit, I guess not. I'm a bit particular. Like I wash the fruit and then I like cut it so beautifully and stuff. It takes a minute. It's not like, it doesn't take forever. Cooking takes forever, right? Yeah.
You know, the zucchinis that are growing like crazy. I've been eating spiralized zucchini. That's one of my favorite for the veggie fruits. You can mix that with pretty much anything. Yeah. Mix wraps with it and so on. So much stuff you can do. It's so simple. And it's, you know, 5 minutes. You're done.
Yeah, zoodles. Zoodles are the best. I'm coming over.
Yeah, they're awesome, right? Zucchini can go with pretty much anything because they don't have a strong flavor. They're nice. Yeah, today I had some of those. Today I had some mangoes in the morning, and then I had some zoodles with some celery in the backyard and some fresh basil and nettle. Got it all in the backyard. Made some wraps. Where you go? And I'm sleepy. Even raw.
I know. It's so true. It just weighs you down. It's so hard eating again.
Yeah, we don't need a lot of food. We don't need a lot. We need very small amounts. Once you find out how efficient the body can run with small amounts, we just eat because of emotion. Oh, that tasted good. Let me have another one. Or whatever. But okay, if there's anything else, or we'll wrap her up.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
All right, Jeanette, we thank you so much for sharing your time and inspiring everybody else. We need to stay focused. That's it. Keep doing it over and over and start learning how to break fast properly. This is where the mini fasts are very nice for people to learn how to break fast and get a feel for it. Do maybe, whatever, 1 week on, 1 week off, 1 day a week eat, do 1 month on, 1 month off. So many options, something that could fit in your lifestyle. Can you imagine do every other month fast? And that's half a year of fasting. And then you add in all your dry fasts. It's the way we need to move forward to live in the less is more world. Somebody posted a question. Thank you, Jeanette, for sharing. I enjoy spending the evening with you. That's Sarah. Robert, thank you. And Rana wrote something before. One thing MasterFast is teaching us in our emotional attachment to food, especially when we break the fast, the juice is very filling physically, so there is definitely no hunger on a MasterFast. And that's about it. So we'll call it a wrap, and we'll see you guys either Wednesday or next Saturday, and have a great week.
Love you, Jeanette. Thank you.
Love you lots, guys. Good night.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Gina.
Thank you so much.
Good night, Gino.
Thank you, guys.
Night, guys.
Thank you.